February went by pretty quick, like it's the shortest month or something, and I picked up some stuff, so let's just jump right into it and talk about them. One of the things I actually got in January, but got toward the end of January, is Parasite. This was my favorite movie of 2019. I've talked about this film before on the channel on my best of the decade list, so we'll go check that out. But this film is pretty much a masterpiece, and I'm so glad it did so well at the Oscars. It's one of the best films I think ever made, period. It's really, really, really good, and I absolutely love it. It's a really great entry point for people to get into Korean cinema, and I'm really happy it's done so well over here. There's not much more I can say about this film. This film is a masterpiece from front to finish. Every quality of this film is great. It's honestly a must-see, and I think everyone should have it or watch it. Another film I picked up was The Craft here on Scream Factory. I got this for autumn for Valentine's Day. I personally wasn't a big fan of this one, but I can see why people would be. And so to talk about the film, I'm just going to let Autumn do it.
The Craft has always been a favorite of mine, and if you've ever been a goth kid in a small town or ever muttered the phrase, "It's not a phase, Mom," you probably love this film too. It's got everything the rebellious teen wants. Catholic schoolgirls, witchcraft, vengeance. I mean, what's not to love for this just classic Halloween binger?
So I picked up Wonder Woman Bloodlines, and it's pretty good. DC's done a really good job with their animated line. Not so much live action, but their animated line's been pretty good. This one was pretty decent. Rosario Dawson does a good job as Wonder Woman herself, and the animation is as on par with the rest of the DC animated stuff. The action set pieces are pretty fun, and the character humor is pretty well done as well. It's not a film that I'll probably rewatch a bunch, but it is a film that I would recommend just at least checking out if you're into the DC animated stuff or Wonder Woman as a whole. I did like this film a lot better than the live action Wonder Woman film, but that doesn't take much. This Blu-ray also comes packed with special features I want to check out, including I think a couple of short films of the DC line, so I definitely want to check out some of that stuff. But overall, it's pretty fun. It's a pretty decent way to kill about an hour and a half. So I saw the new Trey Edward Schultz film Waves, and it's pretty good. He's becoming one of those directors I definitely want to keep my eye on. In all honesty, this film is just kind of packed with great performances and some interesting visuals. The story itself is rather sad and heartbreaking, and it's definitely not a film you want to watch to lift your spirits up. It kind of deals with a lot of personal issues that I feel like a lot of people could probably connect with. There were some moments I really liked the changing aspect ratios throughout the film, but there's also some moments where I found it to be really kind of obnoxious. But overall, this is a pretty solid film. It's not something that I'm going to be watching a bunch of, but maybe in 5 to 10 years down the road, I'll pop it in to watch it again. I also ended up grabbing the new Takashi Miike film First Love, and it's pretty great. Takashi Miike is one of my all-time favorite filmmakers, and First Love definitely feels like his most mature and most accessible film he's done, while maintaining his crazy gonzo style. A lot of things you expect from Takashi Miike's in here: crazy humor, insane over-the-top violence, and blood, and it's pretty awesome. This would definitely be a great film to try to introduce people into Japanese cinema or Takashi Miike himself. It's not quite as crazy as something like Ichi the Killer, but it still kind of has that vibe and energy of a director you wouldn't expect to make over 100 films at this point in his career. Honestly, when it comes to all the films of 2019, this is one that's really kind of stuck out to me. And although I'd probably give the film overall an 8 out of 10, it's definitely left a lasting impression, and I honestly can't wait to watch it again. So now it's time to get into some stuff I found at Dollar General, and one of those is Revolutionary Road. This is a film by Sam Mendes starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, Kathy Bates, Michael Shannon, so on and so forth. I mean, it's really an all-star cast, and it's really great. This honestly might be my favorite film by Sam Mendes I've seen. The entire cast give amazing performances throughout the entire film, and honestly, it's one of those films where some of the dialogue is kind of stupid and cheesy, but the way they perform these lines of dialogue is so gripping and so, at times, heartbreaking and emotional that you kind of forget how cheesy some of the dialogue actually is. And the performances are definitely the standout aspect of this film. The cinematography is not bad, but it's not great. The production design is not bad, but it's not great. And the overall story basically just serves itself for these awesome performances that honestly makes the film 100% worth checking out. I also ended up finding Letters from Iwo Jima. This is the companion piece by Clint Eastwood to Flags of Our Fathers, which is also a film I've not seen. I guess I should probably say I've not seen Letters from Iwo Jima as well, but I've been waiting to finally get Letters so I can watch Flags. So one night I would like to try to sit down and watch both of them, maybe back to back or something like that, and see how good they are. I've always heard Letters is better than Flags, but I don't know. I definitely think it's going to be a film that I'm really going to enjoy. It's set in a time period I love, love, and it's a war movie. Those are two things going very strong for me, and it's Clint Eastwood behind the direction. I know Clint Eastwood isn't always great, but I feel like he probably could handle this source material really well, and considering how well this film has been received, I feel like it's probably pretty good. So I'm hopefully going to check out Letters from Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Fathers here soon. Another Dollar General pickup is Midnight Special. This is a film by Jeff Nichols, who directed Mud, that I've always wanted to see. It also has an all-star cast of Michael Shannon, Joel Edgerton, Kristen Dunst, Adam Driver, yada yada, and it looks really, really good. It's a film that we didn't get anywhere near us in a theater, and honestly I've not heard a lot about it from anybody who's really seen it that I know, so I'm really hopeful that it's pretty good. It's something I've always wanted to check out, and to find for like $3 at Dollar General is pretty awesome. One of the last things I got at Dollar General was Troy. This is a film I've not seen since history class in high school, and that has been a while ago. This is a film that I've always considered to be good. Like I said, I haven't seen it since like history class, but I've always wanted to recheck it out, and I've just never picked it up on Blu-ray because I've never found it for a good price. But for finding it for like $3-ish or whatever, I can't remember the price. I want to say it's like 3 something. I'm pretty glad I ended up grabbing it, so hopefully I'll check it out here soon, and maybe it will live up to what my expectations are, which aren't very high. It's like a 7 out of 10 from what I can remember, and hopefully that's still what it is. So the next set came from FYE, and one of those things I got was FYE exclusive steelbook of Little Shop of Horrors. These steelbook protectors I got to put on all my steelbooks. I love them. I would highly recommend them to anyone who's a collector. But onward to Little Shop of Horrors. This is a film that I've never seen before, and Autumn really liked it, so I ended up grabbing it and we watched it. And I'm not a huge fan of musicals, and I wasn't a huge fan of this, but I did find a lot of charming things in this film that I didn't really have with like something like Rocky Horror Picture Show. For one, it's got Rick Moranis in it. I'm always a fan of Rick Moranis. I think he was a great actor. Hopefully he'll make a comeback at some point, but I understand the decision he made and I respect it completely. But the puppetry and the design of the plant in this film is awesome and really fun to watch. And honestly, the one who stole the film for me was Steve Martin. I absolutely love Steve Martin in this film, and every time his character was on screen, I was really enjoying it. Overall, I can definitely see why this film has a huge cult following, but for me, it's not something that's really up my alley, but there was a lot of things I did appreciate about it. So last month I got The Invisible Man, which means Phantom of the Opera was the last Universal monster movie I needed to get, and guess what? I found it at FYE for like $6. This has like the same slipcase, like the glow in the dark that The Invisible Man had, but if I would take the case out, it'd be the same one that matches the rest of my Universal monster movies. This is one of them I haven't seen. It's honestly, out of all the Universal monster movies, probably the one I have the least amount of interest in. But I got it, and I have a matching set of the Universal Monster movies, so cool. Maybe one day I'll find a slipcase to match the slipcases, but at least the individual cases are the same, because that matters, I guess. I don't know. I found John Carpenter's The Thing on the Scream Factory Steelbook for really cheap, which is surprising because this thing goes for like $50 new. I found it for like $21 at FYE, and so I grabbed it immediately. This is a film I've always loved, but I haven't seen it in a little while, and was one that I never bought because I honestly thought I owned it. I thought I've had it all this time, and I never did. So when I came across this, I definitely felt like it was a good deal, and really glad I ended up grabbing it. I mean, this film is a classic horror film for a reason. I don't think there's a lot I can say about it that hasn't been said. I feel like a lot of people's already seen this, and the people who have seen it love it. The puppetry and the prosthetics in this film are great. There's a lot of great visual effects in this film, and it's just kind of a classic sci-fi horror flick, and it's super, super fun. I finally ended up grabbing Neil Blomkamp's Elysium. This is the last film of his that I did not own, and it's one that honestly is maybe my least favorite of his, but I still really like it. It's one that I've always just decided to pass up on because I never found it for a very good deal. Ended up getting it for $3 at FYE, and I felt like it was finally time to buy it. The visual effects in this film are stunning. Matt Damon's really good. There's a lot of the same messages as something like Parasite has about class warfare, but it's just done in a very dystopian sci-fi way, and it's really enjoyable. I definitely think I like Chappie and obviously like District 9 better than this one, but this is still a really solid film overall, and one that I haven't seen since theaters, so I wouldn't mind checking it out. I've watched Chappie a few times since theaters, so it's about time I probably give Elysium a second viewing. At FYE, they had a bunch of movies on sale. It was like a 3 for $10 sale, and if you had your little FYE discount card, they basically came down to $3 a piece. That's why I ended up grabbing Elysium, but another film I ended up grabbing was Don't Breathe. This is a film that I've always really enjoyed and had fond memories of in theaters and was kind of impressed by. It was a film going into it I thought would be really stupid, but it ended up being very thrilling, very intense, and very suspenseful. It had a really good twist and a really good premise that really I didn't see before in a horror horror film at this point, and it done it pretty well. Now, this isn't something I necessarily consider a horror classic, but it is a pretty good film overall, and I've been kind of wanting to rewatch it at some point. So maybe at some point we'll put her in and rewatch it. So I got it for cheap. It was one of the cooler things that was in that 3 for $10 sale, and yeah, I don't want to see the sequel. Another film I finally picked up is Epic. This is a film that I've picked up and put down, picked up and put down, picked up and put down for years, and I finally got it, and cool. It was part of the FYE's 3 for $10 sale, so obviously you can tell what my first 3 were, but this is a film that I've always really enjoyed. I think the animation is relatively stunning. There's a lot of cool ideas they throw out in this movie, and it's one that I haven't seen since theaters, and that's been 7 years ago according to IMDb, so I wouldn't mind rewatching it. There's some really good humor, but it wasn't a super funny story as much as it was kind of an action adventure film that was just really enjoyable. Like I said, I've always kind of had fond memories of this film, of really enjoying it, so I'm definitely wanting to check it out again. I feel like I've said that a few times in this video. Another film I got for the 3 for $10 sale was Sharknado. Now, I had 5 movies in my hand, so I was looking for something else, and I came across Sharknado, and it was the only other thing that was in that set of the 3 for $10 sale that I really was like, you know what, I'll get it. Sharknado is a so bad it's good film. It's really over the top, really stupid, really bad, and it is enjoyable. It's definitely not something that is like on the same level as The Room when it comes to so bad it's good, but it's not a bad like party flick. I definitely have no interest whatsoever in picking up the sequels, but I just decided to go ahead and grab Sharknado, and it's not honestly a film that I really love. I've seen it before. I've only seen it once, and I don't know if I'll ever watch it again anytime soon, but it is one that is a fun one. I could see watching this with a large group of people and getting more enjoyment out of it than when I just watched it on my own on Sci-Fi. So I figured, I gotta get another one to round up, so I might as well just grab this. Thanks for the 3 for $10 sale. I ended up grabbing Hotel Transylvania 2. I wasn't a big fan of the first one, and I honestly, the more I thought about it, the third one I really don't like. But Hotel Transylvania 2 to me is the best of the series. With a lot of the setup out of the way that the first film felt bogged down with, 2 really went full force on developing the characters, their relationships, and how the world works in this universe, and it's really enjoyable. I think they completely scrapped that idea with 3, but to me, 2 is definitely the heart and soul of the entire trilogy, and probably the one I'd rather watch than any of the other ones again. I definitely don't plan on picking up 3 anytime soon. I'm probably just going to keep 1 and 2 and call it done. If I find 3 for like $1 or something around there, I might grab it, but I don't need it. I don't need to complete the trilogy or something like that. But overall, I think 2 is definitely a fun family flick that has some good humor and some good characters. So in that 3 for $10 sale, I kind of got to cheat the system a little bit with this 2-in-1 little pack. These are 2 individual spines, so that's really cool. And the main reason why I grabbed this is because of Midnight Movie. This is a film I watched on Netflix a while ago, and it's basically like a rip-off Scream film, but it's not bad either. It's definitely somewhere down the middle, down the road, but when it comes to low-budget horror films, it's definitely not a bad one. I don't know if I ever see myself watching it again, but when I was looking through that 3 for $10 sale, this is something I thought was kind of cool and just decided to go ahead and grab it. It also came with one called Killer Movie, which is one that I'm not really like that interested in. Came with it, so I'll put it in the bucket. I'll watch it at some point, but watching the trailer for it, getting footage for this video, and looking at the back of it, it looks like something that's going to be very boring and very schlocky. So here's to hoping it might be a little better than I thought, but I have a feeling it's not going to be very good. One of the last things I got at FYE was Paranorman. This is one of the few Lockheed films I don't own yet. I still need to get Kubo and the 2 Strings, which is my favorite, so I don't know why I don't own that yet. But Paranorman's one I've always really enjoyed, and I'm glad I found it for pretty cheap at FYE. I haven't seen this film since theaters, which is something I've said a bunch this video, but this is a film I've always really enjoyed and really liked. The clay animation is beautiful in it. I like much of Lockheed's stuff, and I love the overall like lo-fi horror-esque setting that it's set in. I think you can have a lot of fun with it, and this film did. Overall, this is one I definitely need to check out again here soon, and maybe make a movie night out of it. On to some Dollar Tree stuff. I grabbed the Coen's brother film Hell Caesar. This is probably the coolest thing I've ever found at the Dollar Tree for $1. I'm a huge fan of the Coen brothers, always have been, and as long as they keep putting out good films, always will be. Hell Caesar is definitely one of them I feel is definitely on the weaker side of the Coen brothers' material, but I still think overall it's really enjoyable. If you're a fan of like something like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I could definitely see you getting some enjoyment out of Hell Caesar. This is basically the Coen brothers' love letter to Hollywood, and I definitely don't think it's as good as Quentin Tarantino's was, but overall it's still really good, and it has a all-star cast. This is a film I've put off for a long time not buying, and I found it for $1, so I think I was rewarded in that one. And the last thing I grabbed in February also comes from Dollar Tree, and that is Nerdland. This is a film film I watched on Netflix a while ago, and it's decent. It's nothing amazing or mind-blowing. Patton Oswalt and Paul Rudd do a good job voice acting. It has some really good and crude animation style. I think it's actually by Titmouse, which is an Adult Swim animation studio, because the animation looks just like an Adult Swim cartoon. If I'm wrong, it's not Titmouse, and I apologize, but I feel like it is. Overall, the story is fairly decent, and the humor is okay. It's not something, like I said, it's mind-blowing, and honestly, I don't remember a lot about it. I mainly just remember the animation style, but I found it for $1, so why not just get it, throw it in the collection. Maybe I'll rewatch it at some point and like it better. I don't know. Another film I got is Mito Azul. Well, this is technically the Spain version of Silver Bullet that is also region-free. A buddy of mine picked this up for me, and that's pretty awesome. It's a really cool release, and it's really something cool to have, so I really appreciate it, my dude. Silver Bullet is kind of one of those classic Halloween movies for me. I grew up watching this as a kid, and every time you think of like the classic Halloween films, this is definitely one of them that goes to the top of my list. I'm a huge fan of werewolf films, and I definitely think this is one of the better ones in my opinion. It's just a really fun, campy werewolf flick with some good scenes in it, and honestly, it's a lot of fun. But anyway, guys, that has been the collection update. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next month.